And we're
just
by the
like
beach.
Brazil. And I think, you know, when the weather's warm and the sun's out, I think it really does help the Brazilians.
We could be at the Copacabana now, I can't even say it, but there's Stefan Otelli taking over from Laurens Van Thorp.
And in the meantime, Maximilian Buch, fastest first sector time, fastest second sector time. Down in 9th place, he is just 5 seconds behind Sandstrom in the...
Away goes the Audi.
Easy,
way clear.
Alex Buncombe has handed it over to Adoniath. Wait for the transponder to be switched. It should be.
They're saying wait, they're saying stop. Whoa.
Almost.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the difference between doing it on the GT Academy. If you have an incident in the pit lane, it doesn't damage the car, but the unsafe releases are a major issue with every team to make sure that they do what they need to do correctly. Oh, so, Ferrari.
So, what's happened there? Is it?
Well, it's at 90 degrees to the track. Whether that's driver-induced,
oh, yeah, there we go.
There was another bit of contact. We saw the contact a few laps earlier with the Lamborghini, but that time looks to me as if maybe he just rode the curb with the right rear and the thing snapped around.
But as Rast comes into the pits now then, and his last lap was a 42.8, Stefan Otelli did a 41.9, he was a second quicker, so this is going to be very close, I think, between the two WRT Audis at the front of the field. Rast comes in, painfully slow in the pit lane.
Yeah, 60 kilometers an hour, but he has done a good job for his teammates. So pit stop, René Rast, the smaller of the two drivers, the seated Phil is taken out. Nicky Meyer-Melnhof gets in. Driver assists with the belts being fitted, but there is that car that could potentially take the lead. Stefan Otelli behind the wheel. Wheels still being changed. This is going to be a close call for Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. Will he get out before? He's moving now. Get it going, Nicky, because you're at the end of the pit lane. Accelerate flat out. He might. Yes, he's got it.
He has.
And the gap is more or less status quo.
But I don't think it will be by the end of this lap because Otelli is up to speed and I think he'll close in on Nicky fairly quickly. Who's in third place then? Edward Sandstrom. So it's a WRT 1-2-3 it's turned out. Impressively, Sergei Afanasiev and Andreas Simonsen are back into the lead of Pro-Am despite that drive-through penalty. They're running in 7th place overall. Karun Chandok is in 8th place. Here's a replay of... oh, that is Sergei Afanasiev. Just as I was saying, what a great job he's doing. He's had a little off.
I mean, I tell you, he was very lucky coming into the Hugenholz hairpin bend. A slow corner, but he just ran wide in that little quick flick to the right, the Garlic corner.
Harry Prochik and Aman Ibrahim.
We've seen that Lamborghini being involved in incidents with the Ferrari at the same point. This time the Lamborghini was on the inside, so if there's any complaint he can say, well, I tried it on the inside, I tried it on the outside. Battle for third place, getting very intense.
Yeah, that contact we saw was in second over second in Pro-Am. Fabio Onidi has come into the pits and retired from the race, unfortunately, in that Ferrari. Little nose up the inside from Maximilian Buch, the reigning GT3 European champion with HDP. Looks up the inside again, just trying to put off Edward Sandstrom in front. The battle for the lead of the race is between this man we're on board with, Stefan Otelli, and Nicky Meyer-Melnhof in front of him. The two teammates cross the line, and they are only 0.3 of a second apart. Third place is Edward Sandstrom. The guys behind are lapping a couple of tenths of a second quicker. Through goes Otelli. Meyer-Melnhof gave him plenty of room, and Stefan Otelli moves into the lead of the race. The number 11 Audi back in front.
Yes, and you almost think that was Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. Oh, when he runs wide, Otelli gets it all wrong. And, well, that looked a bit scary.
This is all going to allow third and fourth places to close in as well. I expect Stefan Otelli to pull clear now, but I think we could see second, third and fourth getting very, very close to one another with 20 minutes to go here at Zandvoort.
Just wonder if when Otelli got past Meyer-Melnhof, he may have gone slightly offline, picked up a little bit of the residue around the racetrack, and that's why when he got down to the hairpin, but up the corner before the hairpin, he just ran wide, and of course, as a consequence, he's got even more dust and dirt onto that tyre, so he's having to be very cautious. The field is now a 2-car race, now it's turned into a 4-car race.
Absolutely.
This
Great
time,
stuff here.
Mercedes, he's done it.
Yeah, good move from Maximilian Buch. He moves up into the third position now and starts to hunt down Nicky Meyer-Melnhof in front of him. Great stuff from Maximilian Buch. There's Alan Day. He is watching as his teammate Maximilian Buch tries to get past Nicky Meyer-Melnhof.
And again, trying to run up to the back of the Audi through turn 5. Tries to get the drive off the corner, but again, to make the pass into Masters corner, is a big ask, but in good position.
Yeah.
He's not going to go down the inside into turn 7, is he?
Oh, he's gone for it, Maximilian Buch. Brilliant manoeuvre, and Buch moves up into second place. Well, what a fantastic move that was. And now here comes Edvard Sandström to go past Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. Meyer-Melnhof will try and hold on, and he just about has. But what a brilliant move from Max Buch. Opportunistic and cleverly done. And now the two WRT Audis go side by side, down into the chicane, trying to get past Edvard Sandström, trying to get past Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, but unable to do so. I don't think, well, it'll be interesting. Will the Mercedes have enough time to close in on Ortelli? He's got to close in 0.8 of a second or so, and those are the nerves on the pit wall. Here's a look at the replay then. He was very, very close here, and Buch just forced his way past, didn't he? Way behind, but on the brakes he thought, I'm going for it. All credit to Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, saw him coming, left him room. Meyer-Melnhof then nearly got overtaken by Sandström, but he managed to hold on to that position. But great stuff from Maximilian Buch, and he's up into second place. A strong race from Vanthor and Ortelli. The championship leaders will start on pole position for tomorrow's main race as they take victory here in Zandvoort in the qualifying race. And Maximilian Buch will start in second position after a brilliant drive in his HTP Charouz Mercedes SLS. Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, third place. Fourth place for Edvard Sandström. Fifth for Kaka Bueno. Sixth place across the line, Andreas Zuber, ahead of Pro-Am class winner Sergei Afanasiev. But it's another win for Ortelli and Vanthor. They won the qualifying race in Zolder. Now they've won the qualifying race here in Zandvoort. Here's a look at the results then. Audi 134. Belgian Audi WRT after a very strong performance. Ortelli and Vanthor then taking the race win. Buch and Alan Day in second place, 0.7 of a second behind. And then Meyer-Melnhof and Rast in third position. And there you can see the BMW Z4. Strong result for them, Kaka Bueno and Alam Koder, but they did benefit from drivers retiring in front of them. I don't think they only finished 6.5 seconds off actually, so that's not too bad. And their best lap was a 1 minute 41.4, which is well in the mix of the front-running times. Mike Parisi and Andreas Zuber saved a little bit of prestige for the Sebastian Loeb racing team after Alvaro Parent was forced out of the race on the opening lap. We can now hear from Stefan Ortelli. There they are, and just off camera is John Watson.
Stefan Ortelli, Laurens Vanthor, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. It's tough out there. I think he did most of the job. He did an amazing start. We can be proud, and I have to look carefully what he did yesterday, today, to do it again tomorrow, because it's a very dream start. I'm very sorry for Sebastian Loeb and Alvaro. I mean, they didn't deserve to have this DNF right from the first corner, so I'm sure they will come back tomorrow, and we will have to fight tomorrow. Difficult race. Bravo, Laurens. Bravo, WRT. Bravo.
Well done. Laurens, tell us, at the start was 3 cars into one and normally not going to go, but you were in the inside and held the line and got the lead.
I think I had a good reaction on the line and I could come through. I got some help from my teammate behind with some bump drafting. And yeah, there was only a little hole in the first corner, but I was there and I wanted to go for it. And after that, we have to work a bit this evening because the car was very, very difficult to drive. Really problems to just keep it on the track already. So had a not so good car and we won, so I think we can be very, very happy.
Well done, congratulations.
Vanthor and Ortelli then taking the victory and holding the lead of the championship. So let's hear from our second place men. Maximilian Buch and Alan Day are now with John.
Alan Day, great drive from you, a stunning drive from your teammates for second place.
Yeah, it was great to see my teammate. It was a pretty nice race to watch and to drive, of course. My start was a bit messy, but yeah, we settled down after a few laps and everything went perfect, you know.
Max, you had a number of goes at trying to get past the second place Audi. You did it. A lovely, lovely pass into turn 7.
Thank you. Yeah, I was all the time very close to him. Never really had the gap, but then he made some mistakes, and then I take the chance, and of course, yeah, went quite well. When I would not have stuck so long behind him, maybe I could have been attack Mr. Ortelli a bit more, but anyway, for tomorrow's race, it's not too bad.
Well, take your second place and enjoy it. Well done, guys.
Good afternoon and welcome to Zandvoort in the Netherlands for the third round of the 2013 FIA GT Series. And this is the main race where the big points are to be won as we reach the halfway point of this 2013 season. It's a beautiful day here in the Netherlands and a good attendance as well, because you've got the Formula 3 Masters racing here this weekend, that famous Dutch race, and the track temperature 26.1 degrees, air temperature 23.5. Very pleasant it is. As you can see, many people have headed to the beach, many people have headed to the racetrack, and it's really a fantastic atmosphere here at Zandvoort. And there you can see the very busy FIA GT grid getting ready to start the race. Here you can have a look at the Zandvoort circuit, a classic circuit that was shortened up at this the bottom right-hander you can see on the screen there. That was where the circuit used to carry on straight and loop all the way back around, but it was shortened quite a number of years ago. But it's still a fantastic circuit, rising and falling through the dunes. Fantastic vantage points for spectators as well around this 4.3 kilometre circuit. And there is an example of it that's looking back down towards the pit lane. So let's start off with Alvaro Parent. He and Sebastian Loeb had a disastrous start to yesterday's race. They started at the back of the grid and there were John Watson.
Alvaro Parent, pole position for qualifying race yesterday, back of the grid for today's feature race.
Yeah, not great. You know, qualifying was really good. Managed to put a good lap, but the qualifying race was terrible, really. We were going three side to side into the first corner, but probably the Mercedes didn't see that there was another car on the inside of me into turn one, and he turned in way too early and couldn't avoid contact, really. So was getting hit by one side, by one car, and by the Mercedes on my left. So a bit of a sandwich. Then it cut our tire and we had a puncture. So yeah, not good at all. Let's see if today goes a bit better.
Well, what's your best hope, on the back of the grid? I mean, what do you think realistically you can achieve?
It's a sprint race, 1 hour. Anything can happen in racing. So, but we're going to try to pass some people and have a good pit stop, and then have a good second stint and see where we end up. If I think we have the pace for a top three, but not when you're starting last. It's a lot harder. So we'll see what we can do.
Good luck.
Fairly non-committal there from Alvaro Parent, not wanting to hedge his bets. Sebastian Loeb will be starting that car alongside, on the back row of the grid, the V8 racing machine of Max Brahms and Duncan Houseman, who retired from yesterday's race as well. Here's our onboard camera with Loeb strapping himself in. You can see when he's off and away anyway, him working the pedals, and it's a fantastic camera angle for a difficult season for Sebastian Loeb. As you can see, the busy grid down there, just underneath the main grandstand on the left-hand side now as we look down towards turn one. In fact, we can have a little ride up the grid then. On pole position on the left-hand side there is the number 11 Belgian Audi Club, Team WRT. Lawrence Van Thor on the left-hand side just being interviewed by Sonny. As we then move on to the all WRT second row of the grid, we've got an HTP Mercedes second on the grid, Max Buch and Alan Day, but then the second row is Edward Sandstrom and Nicky Meyer-Melnhoff. Third row of the grid on the left-hand side there, that is Kaka Bueno's car. He's starting in 5th position. 6th place on the right-hand side in that blue and white McLaren is Mike Parisi in the first of the Sebastian Loeb Racing McLarens. There's Stefan Rattel just walking past us as we make our way to the 4th row of the grid. Left-hand side, Sergei Afanasyev in the white and red Mercedes, and then alongside him will be the Karun Chandok car, and you can see Andreas Simonsen waiting by the side of that car. Let's hear from him now. He's with Watty.
Andreas, pole position for Pro-Am, but you've got the pace really to be at the front of this grid.
Yeah, for yesterday's race I started on P2 overall, so for us the pace has been really good this weekend, and for sure we will hope to give them a fight even today. So yesterday we finished P7 with the drive-through penalty, and we lost like 20 seconds on this, so for sure we will fight.
So what advice have you given to Sergei? I mean, obviously, avoid other cars.
For sure, do not any touching in the first corner, try to get through, but not be too kind to everybody else.
Have a great one. Thank you.
So they're starting that car 7th on the grid after finishing 7th in yesterday's qualifying race, and they won the Pro-Am category as well, which was excellent news for them. and really brought them into contention as far as the Pro-Am Championship is concerned. Only 4 points behind Carlos Vieira and Cesar Campanico. There alongside them on the grid is the car that will be started by Karun Chandok, and then on the next row, row 5, on the left-hand side there is the BMW Team India, to be started by Aman Ibrahim with the Lamborghini of Harry Prochik alongside. Row 6 on the grid is a pair of Audis. There you can see Enzo Eid walking away from his Phoenix Racing Audi. That means Anthony Kumpen is starting on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side in the 14 Audi, we have got Patrick Kuna, we have got Cesar Campanico starting, and then it's Kuna on the next row of the grid in another Lamborghini alongside Lucas Ordonez. The second BMW Sports Trophy car of Ricardo Zonta starts down in 16th position. Real frustration for them. And then the retirees from yesterday, Mark Szorzycki, Philippe Salaquadra and Maximilian Brahms in the final places ahead of Sebastian Loeb. So there you can see the grid, and the pole sitter is the championship leader, Laurence Van Thor and Stefan Otelli, 52 points. Only 7 points clear of their teammates Edvard Sandstrom and Frank Stippler, who are starting this race from 4th on the grid. So it's at the moment looking very much like an inter-WRT battle for the championship as far as things have gone at the moment. And we can now hear from Vincent Voss, who's their team manager.
Vincent, you won the qualifying race yesterday with the WRT Audi. What's going to happen this afternoon?
Well, we saw yesterday that it was quite difficult, that the Mercedes was having a much better pace. And, well, I think we will have to fight very hard, as usual, but now he's starting much more in the front, and we will see. I think we have a small advantage in the pit stops, and the driver lineup we have is great. So I think we will fight very hard, but it will be difficult.
How is René Rast this morning, along with Nicky Meyer-Menhoff?
Well, René feels okay. I mean, he's a bit hurt, but I think he will be fine.
Nothing like a drop of adrenaline to get rid of all that pain, is there?
Yeah, well, I think it will not help him.
Thank you.
So Vincent Voss comfortable that René Rast will be okay after an unfortunate collision with a car here yesterday, just after the race. It was a pedestrian car that clipped René Rast, but he is okay to race. And those relaxing on the beach will soon have their peace and tranquility interrupted as 20 FIA GT cars head down towards Tarzan for the first time. You can see some cyclists. You can cycle all the way around the outside of this Zandvoort circuit. But really, it's the battle for the championship. The top 3 positions in the championship are all WRT. Van Thor and Ortelli first, Sandstrom and Stippler second, then Melnoff and Rast in 3rd place. So it really is turning into a commanding season for WRT, but we've still got plenty of races remaining. We've got to go to Slovakia Ring, we've got to go to Novara, and we've got to go, of course, to Baku, that was announced recently. The final race of this 2013 season will be on a brand new street circuit around the capital city of Azerbaijan, which is something we are all very much looking forward to. So you can see the grid a lot clearer now than it was previously. Everyone has been cleared and the 3-minute board has been shown. So in about, well, a minute and a half, really, the formation lap will get underway. The race is not won and lost in the pit stops, but we saw yesterday WRT have an excellent record in the pit stops, and they really performed. I think their pit stop in the end was 3.5 seconds quicker than the HTP Gravity Charouz squad, which counts for a huge amount here. And all these cars that you're seeing, a fantastic array, but these are all the cars that Sebastian Loeb has to try and get past in his Sebastian Loeb Racing McLaren. And the reason we're focusing on him is because not only is he a 9-time World Rally Champion, but he has had the pace this year. He and Alvaro Parent have been one of the quickest driver pairings, but they are way, way down in the order. Only 2 driver pairings are behind them in the championship. And there is the Sebastian Loeb car, and that on the rolling start will be trying to make some moves on the run down into Zandvoort. It's on the run down into Tarzan, I should say, here at Zandvoort. It's a very iconic corner, Zandvoort, banked on the inside through the right-hander. It is possible to get around the outside, but you end up running out of room on the exit as the when the clock hits 11:40 local time, away will pull the BMW safety car, and the rest of the cars will follow. Who's going to get the best getaway? Yesterday, Laurens Vanthoor made a stunning start. We saw the HDP Gravity Charouz Mercedes not make that good a start, actually. Dropped back through the field just a little bit, down into 5th place initially, managed to work their way back up very impressively, but at the end of lap 1, they were down in 5th position, which wasn't a particularly strong start. And there you can see Sebastian Loeb will not be the last man on the grid. He will be starting in front of that V8 Racing Corvette. Here's a look at the grid then one more time. It's Stefan Ortelli starting on pole position. Alongside him is Maximilian Buch. Second row of the grid is all WRT. Nicky Meyer-Melnoff and Edvard Sandström in 3rd and 4th places. 5th and 6th, we've got Kaka Bueno and Mike Parisi in the BMW and the McLaren, respectively. 7th and 8th place, we've got Sergei Afanasiev and Karun Chandok. Then we've got Aman Ibrahim and Harry Prochik in the BMW and the Lamborghini. Those are 2 cars that I think will be trying to make progress this afternoon because they've had good pace. Anthony Kumpen and Enzo Eid have been frustrated this weekend in their Phoenix Audi, and Lucas Ordóñez equally so in the Nissan. Patrick Kuhner will be hoping to get that Lamborghini to the end of the race unscathed after an incident yesterday. Ricardo Zonta starts so far back on the grid because they had engine troubles which saw them pitting regularly. Philippe Salaquada and Mark Szulcicki in 17th and 18th places, and then the last row of the grid, Sebastian Loeb and Max Brahms will line up at the rear of the circuit. So the sea is just a stone's throw from the circuit here at Zandvoort. The crowd are out in force, ready to watch this FIA GT Series race, the 3rd main race of the season. And John Watson, it should be very entertaining, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's a warmer day than it was yesterday. A little bit of breeze blowing, but altogether, absolutely stunning day at Zandvoort. And it's going to be an interesting start. Hopefully we'll see a clean start and not the contact that occurred in Tarzan Herpen yesterday, which sadly saw the demise of Alvaro Parent and the Sebastian Loeb pole-sitting McLaren. But it's now the team boss, and he did have to take a minute's break to get out of the car and go and do a toilet break.
Oh, okay.
The trouble was there was no toilet around. They had to just do whatever the convenient place was. So, and there, look, Sebastian Loeb almost, as the cars slow down, as they come to the end of the formation lap, almost getting caught out. Another quick little story we got from the pit when I was on the grid was that the Corvette, the V8 Corvette, which is driven by Maximilian Brahms and Duncan Huisman, the reason that car went off, we saw it going off in the warm-up, and a major lock-up coming into Tarzan Herpen, was an ABS sensor failure as a result of the accident yesterday. Apparently the drivers knew about it, but one of the 2 drivers didn't actually remember that they had no ABS.
So the main race is about to get underway here at Zandvoort. 3rd round of the 2013 FIA GT Series gets underway when the lights go out. Away we go, and it's a pretty decent start from the Mercedes as they pull to the outside. Already off is Ricardo Zonta towards the back of the pack, but look at that, the Mercedes of Maximilian Buch moves into the lead at the start of the race. 2nd place is still Laurens Vanthoor. Then it looks up and into 4th place almost is Mike Parisi trying to go around the outside as they filter now down through. Kaka Bueno has a little bit of contact with Parisi. Karun Chandok's made a great start and is going to get pushed out as they come down towards Hugenholtz for the first time. And look at that Lamborghini, just keeping it out of the wall. Harry Prochik there, but a great start from Maximilian Buch. We go on board with Sebastian Loeb as he tries to find a way through.
He's just got to be patient. There will be opportunities. You can see him trying to force his way past the Lamborghini. The back end of the McLaren a little bit unstable as he came through the left-hander. Now up over the crest and dropped down this magnificent long right-hand corner. Got to hug the apex, and then immediately you're into master corner.
Through goes Kaka Bueno, getting past Mike Parisi then as they come through Masters Box. And that was a good move from Kaka. He's up. I think Parisi might have a problem, because he's squirming all over the place. He stayed on the circuit, though. I thought for a moment he might have an issue, but he's kept going, Mike Parisi. But Caca Bueno forces his way through then up into, I think that's actually ultimately 5th place, isn't it? Behind the 3 Audis and the Mercedes, side by side between Lucas Ordóñez and Aman Ibrahim. Aman Ibrahim on the inside in the black BMW coming down into the chicane. There's quite a lot of side by side going on down there. Ibrahim makes it through. Sebastian Loeb now trying to get past the AF Corsa Ferrari of Philippe Salaquada. Was that a bit of a touch there? It's certainly a bit of a jerk on the steering wheel, but he managed to get past, and now Anthony Kumpen is the next man in front.
I think it was a little bit of contact, probably also a little bit of curb on the inside, threw the car up, but a very aggressive opening lap. Look at this on the instead of, and I mean, cars now moving left to right. Very aggressive opening lap. We're watching from the lead of the Pro-Am Mercedes-Benz, but being overtaken.
Around the outside.
Oh my goodness, they've Ordóñez in the Nissan, massive.
Cesar Campanico in the Audi that just lost it under braking and went straight into the Armco on the inside of the barrier. So we'll wait and see whether the safety car is deployed. I imagine it will be as the race continues. Sebastian Loeb now trying to get past the Phoenix Racing Audi still in front. Throughout all that, we saw Harry Procik make a great move around the outside of Sergei Afanasiev. Safety car is deployed then, so the race is brought under neutralization after that accident for Cesar Campanico. How far has Sebastian Loeb made it up the order then? Oh, look at this, they're still overtaking. Yeah, but so maybe they haven't seen the safety car boards yet.
Well, the safety car board, but they should be seeing the yellow flags. Once the safety car is deployed, there will be yellow flags all around the racetrack. There we see it here at the Hugenholz-Herpen. There are the signs around the racetrack, so they've got to stop racing. There we, fortunately, out of the car, but limping. Looks like he's got a crack on the ankle. But we didn't quite see what caused the beginning of that incident, but it turned inwards, caught the barrier on the inside of the entry into Tarzan-Herpen, and it was spectacular, but fortunately nothing of serious consequence.
Yeah, Cesar Campanico out of the car, which is great to see. And yeah, it was an incident all by himself, so whether it was a mechanical problem or just lost it under braking, I can't imagine he was going to brake. Good driver is Cesar Campanico, but as the safety car is deployed, we'll give you a little run through the order. Max Buch leads then in that number 1 Mercedes, 2nd Stefan Otelli, 3rd Edward Sandstrom, 4th is Nicky Melnov, all in WRT Audis. 5th place then is the BMW of Caca Bueno. Karun Chandok up into 6th place. Afanasiev, Procek and, well, Campanico was 3rd in class. He's not going to be now. Afanasiev and Procek 1st and 2nd in class. There's Carlos Vieira, Campanico's teammate, walking back to the garage because he knows that he's got nothing left to do today.
Just caught the end of the barrier on the inside of the corner going into the Tarzan-Herpen, and we did see a lot of, I would say, aggressive defence. Afanasiev was defending against, we saw the Lamborghini of Harry Procek, and that was the Mercedes actually ran off track in the exit out of the Harry Lyondike curve, and then he went from left aggressively across to block the Lamborghini coming down the right hand side. The car we just seen in the barriers, that started on the 6th row of the grid, and Campanico did well to get up through the field to get to where he got to.
Yeah, absolutely. So he was running in 8th place. Here we go then, and well, we see Afanasiev runs wide, covers the inside, but whilst that overtake is happening, it's the car behind, it's the McLaren behind these two side by side. It's the Audi behind these two, under braking now. Away it goes.
Something there's, well, again, whether that's a failure on the car,
those cameramen,
or indeed the marshals just behind the barrier, or whether there was something with the brakes. We did have an issue this morning with one car with an ABS sensor failure, but that car turned pretty much sharp right, and that was totally unexpected for Cesar Campanico. We didn't know what was going to happen, and he put the brakes on the car. Very unusual to see a car do that in the modern day. With all these cars have got ABS brakes on them, and it just looked as if there was a failure of some description. We need to get
the
further
red flag
information.
has been thrown.
Really, well, there must be damage to the barriers at that part of the racetrack that they need to repair to ensure the circuit is in conformity and is safe. We wait to see what the race director is going to issue in terms of a statement as to the reasons why the race has been red flagged. It may just be simply to clear the racetrack of debris, but I suspect that there may be damage on the inside to the barrier. This is from Sebastian Loeb.
Yep, Loeb's view, and you can see the car going off just up in front on the run down into the first corner. And Campanico ends up going off into the gravel. Everyone avoids him, which is good news. But the red flag has been thrown here at Zandvoort, so we're going to have a little bit of a pause whilst we... Well, there is the damaged car, and that one...
Look, you know, looking at the damage to that car, it's very superficial. Considering the impact, the force, the kinetic energy involved, that car has come off very lightly, and you know, we saw Cesar Campanico getting out limping, and quite frequently when you have an accident like that, the impact, the initial impact, your feet get thrown around the footwell, and you can get your foot thrown against maybe the footrest which the driver might have in the car to the left, or just simply just you rattle around like a pea in a pod, and it hurts. It does hurt, believe me.
So the cars will make their way back onto the grid, and will line up in the order that they're in currently, and then we will wait to hear what the restart procedure will be. But a great start from Maximilian Buch. We had, we'd completed one lap, hadn't we? We were on 1.5 laps into the race, so potentially it, I imagine, will restart from the current order as opposed to going back and doing a full restart from the original grid. But we'll have to wait and see what the race director decides as the marshals clear up the mess left after that accident down at the first corner for Cesar Campanico, who's out of the car.
Yeah, just hope that in that impact, we did see there were a couple of marshals directly behind the barrier. Just hopefully none of them were affected by that impact. I mean, it was a substantial impact. It came completely out of the blue. The car turned pretty much sharp right, and I suspect that the marshals that were there were not really watching that. They were looking to the car's head. Let's look again at the restart.
And this is Maximilian Buch getting a fantastic getaway then when the lights go out, and he manages to drag race clear. He's not really alongside as they come over the start line, but then he manages to find the momentum and the speed. Ricardo Zonta get pushed off almost into the barriers going down into turn 1. Cacabueno made a reasonable getaway as well as they come into the first corner. It was all fairly well behaved into turn 1.
Interesting watching just the straight line speed of the Mercedes over the Audi. At the start of yesterday's race, Alvaro Parent, he was surprised at the torque that the Audis have, because he got out dragged by Laurens van Thor in the run down into turn 1, and he said just things got that little bit of mid-range torque. Top end's about the same, but the mid-range torque of the Audi surprised Parent. And there we've just seen the Mercedes out-drag the Audi, and that was coming from behind.
So that was on board with Sebastian Loeb on the run down into Tarzan. Made up a couple of places, almost went into the back of one of the Mercedes, but managed to avoid it nicely. I think that was the Gentleman Trophy of Peter Charouz. The car's now lined up on the grid, doors open to get a bit of cooling into the car, because it's a very hot day out there.
And you get a lot of heat soak, because the cars have been at race speed for just, well, basically a lap and a bit, because the incident occurred at the beginning of the second lap down at the Tarzan hairpin.
So we can, we saw Cesar Campanico off the circuit. We can now hear from his teammate Carlos Vieira. He's with Emily.
Carlos, is Cesar okay?
Well, we don't know. There is some... actually, we don't know. We are just waiting for some news.
Do you know what happened to the car?
Well, we don't know. We were in third, discussing there the braking area, and Cesar went out. We don't know why.
Thank you.
So Carlos Vieira, not sure of exactly what's happened yet, as the mechanics all make their way onto the grid now. And they will look after the cars during this red flag period. And there you can see the teammates heading up as well. That's Alvaro Parent going up to chat to Sebastian Loeb, who's managed to make his way up into 12th place from the back of the grid. And it's been an impressive start from him. There's no doubt about that. Up into 12th place. Anthony Kumpen in 11th place was going to be the next man on his hit list. You can see right at the back of the queue there. Sebastian Loeb racing McLaren. It certainly looks like a McLaren, doesn't it? But I don't think we should have one right at the back, unless that's Andreas Zuber, who had a difficult start. That car was started by Andreas Zuber, actually, because that was a late change in the running order. So Zuber is starting that car. My apologies for describing it as Mike Parisi. But there is Stefano Ortelli. Couldn't hold the lead off the start. As they came across the line that time, there was only 0.6 of a second between Buch and Ortelli. That was after the safety car had come out, though, actually, wasn't it? So he had built up a 1.3 second lead at the end of the first lap. So Ortelli didn't quite have the pace of Max Buch in those, in that one lap of racing that we really had. As we look down the grid, the cars have stopped a little further back from the from where they were gridded up previously, more towards the actual start line here at Zandvoort. As the fans wait expectantly, hoping to see a bit more racing, and as soon as we have any information on getting on when this race will be restarted, we will let you know. Yeah, there's definitely a Sebastian Loeb Racing McLaren there behind Peter Charouz in the actually I can see it. No. Yeah, it's the Sebastian Loeb Racing McLaren of Andreas Zuber that is all of a sudden right at the back of the pack. So I'm not quite sure why that has happened. As we see Alan Day on the right-hand side, teammate of Max Buch, who sat in the car after taking the lead here, going down into the first corner at Zandvoort. Third round of the FIA GT series. And we've got a red flag after an off for Cesar Campanico going down into the first corner. Some kind of braking problem, we are presuming. It looked very much like a braking problem as the car speared right and into the barriers. Campanico out of the car unassisted, which is good news. And as the large attendance that have come here to Zandvoort watch on, Ortelli and Van Thorp leading the championship, so second place for them would be still pretty decent as far as the championship is concerned, because their main rivals at the moment are Edward Sandstrom and Frank Stippler, and they are third. So they're ahead of their main championship rivals. Max Buch and Alan Day have had such a difficult start to the season that I don't really think they will be able to launch an attack. They had 2 podiums in Nogaro, third in both the qualifying and the main race, but then a 7th place in the Zolder qualifying race and a retirement in the Zolder main race means they have pretty much half the points of Van Thor and Ortelli at the top of the standings. So to claw that back over 3 rounds is going to be very, very difficult indeed. And there is Sandstrom sitting at the wheel. Experienced racer Edward Sandstrom. Swedish driver, raced in the Blancpain Endurance Series last year with WRT. Raced in FIA GT3 before that, and was the Scandinavian Porsche Carrera Cup champion back in 2007. Started off his racing career in 2001 as runner-up in the Formula Ford Sweden Championship. Alexander Storkenfeld won that particular championship, as we now look at Kaka Bueno sitting in his car. He is currently in 5th place, so he held his start position, which is good news for the Brazilians because they've had a very difficult start to the year. Really, they didn't feel the circuits are really suiting the strengths of the BMW. But here at Zandvoort, it's all about mid-speed, high-speed corners, and that is something that does appear to assist them. Everything's good for Nicky Meyer-Melnoff as he sits in his car. So, a pause here at Zandvoort. We have dispatched John Watson out towards the grid, so hopefully we may be hearing from him soon. There's Karun Chandok, who's made a very good start actually, up into 6th place, because Karun struggled a little bit this year, I think it's fair to say, getting used to the kind of driving style needed for one of these GT cars. They're a lot less downforce than a Formula 1 car and the quick single-seaters that he's used to. Aerodynamics not really playing as much of a part here. As we see Harry Prochik in the Grasso Racing Lamborghini. 3rd in the championship last year in the FIA GT3 European Championship. And he had 7 races actually way back in 1999 Harry Prochik was part of the Red Bull Junior team, competed for them for 7 races in the Formula Koenig Championship. But his career didn't really take off as a full works Red Bull driver. He's from Nittelfeld in Austria, so literally a stone's throw from the famous, what was Österreich ring and is now the Red Bull ring. Sergei Afanasiev, after that dramatic defending we saw, after he ran wide at coming out of the Arie Luyendyk corner, dived to the inside, and Prochik actually did very well to outbrake him around the outside. Very impressive stuff. Sebastian Loeb and Alvaro Parent having a little chin wag, and I think he's done a good job actually to get him into 12th place, Sebastian Loeb, and he looks quite happy actually. He hasn't looked very happy throughout this season because of the difficulties that team has been facing. A little walk along the beach. That'll be where we'll be heading to after the race, when it finishes, after it eventually hopefully gets back underway. And a little fall there. I'm not quite sure what game that is, but it's a beautiful location here in Zandvoort. When it's raining and windy, it's quite an unpleasant place to be, but when the sun's out like it is now this weekend, it's a very pleasant place to be. Look at that, sitting up on the dunes watching some racing. You can't think of a much better afternoon's entertainment than that. Such good vantage points around this circuit as well. Lucas Ordóñez, winner of the first Nissan GT Academy, went from racing Gran Turismo on the PlayStation to being a real-life racing driver with some pretty good pace actually. Struggled in FIA GT, but in the Blockpan Endurance Series, Lucas and his RJN Nissan team have been very strong. And we can have a look back at the start from Lucas Ordóñez. That sliced through a couple of cars there, and then what does he do going down into turn 1? Well, he's pretty much forced to go to the outside. Holds it around the outside and slots in behind Aman Ibrahim, and also I think that's the Cesar Campanico Audi on our inside, on our right-hand side, that you just caught a glimpse of. Yes, it is. And then into Hugenholtz hairpin. Is he able to get back past? No. So Lucas Ordóñez was running as they crossed the line in 9th place, in 3rd in class. So good work from Ordóñez. So they started this race in 13th place and he's now running in 9th. So they've made up a little bit of progress. The young man from Madrid, well, he's 27 now, but when he was a young man, he entered the GT Academy and subsequently won it. He was just a student in Madrid. He won the GT Academy and became a racing driver, racing in the GT4 European Cup in 2009 and 10, finished 2nd in 2009 with Alex Buncombe, made his Le Mans debut in 2011, and then various LMP appearances last year mainly, and now he's here in GT racing this season, the FIA GT Championship, after Nissan RJN Nissan ran a team in British GT last year. So there's the Loeb Parent McLaren, 12th place at the moment, and Sebastian Loeb acquitting himself fairly well in his first full season of motor racing, or circuit racing I should say. 9 times World Rally Champion of course, and it would be unfair to say he's a rookie. He competed in Le Mans twice, finishing 2nd back in 2006 in LMP1 with Eric Mallory and Frank Montagny. But relative to some of the drivers around him, he's fairly limited on experience. Now you can see the steering wheel with the map of the circuit, so he knows exactly which corner he's referring to when he talks back to the mechanics in the pit lane. There's some more buttons, and presumably that will activate the sat-nav. Presumably actually some sort of electronic suspension adjustment. You can see all the gizmos in there. Timing will be down in there as well, the transponders, and when you get in the car you have to flick a transponder to say which driver you are, so it comes up on our screen. And we can now hear from Sebastian Loeb. He is down there on the grid with John Watson.
Sebastian, good start, very busy first lap.
Very busy for sure. We started last, so it was a everywhere, and I tried to push, tried to overtake. We gained some position, so I had a good first lap. Then we had a red flag, so now we have to wait and see what happens for the rest. But you know, when you start last, you don't have a lot to expect. So now we are 11 on the grid again. We'll see what we can do.
Well, yesterday, clearly, I could see your disappointment at the end of the opening corner, and you got all morning this morning.
At the moment, it's okay, but it's fighting really hard. You see a lot of cars touching one to the other, and so it's really tricky and easy to make a mistake or to break something. So we will see. We'll try to continue like that. We had a good first part of the race. Try to make a good second part.
Further you get up, harder it becomes.
That's sure, because further you get up, faster are the drivers. So okay, we will see. At the moment, it's okay, no problem. So we'll see in the second part.
Sebastian, your team are wanting you to get back in your car. I think you better go. The team wants you now. They're asking for you now.
So maybe I have to go.
Good.
Thank you.
Great stuff, Sebastian Loeb getting back in his car then, because the restart will be in 9 minutes' time. The race will resume behind the safety car. Philippe Salaquada in the AF Corsa Ferrari there, 13th place and 5th in the Pro-Am category. He started the race down in 17th place, so he's made some good progress as well. Big losers at the start of that really were Ricardo Zonta. Well, no, he didn't lose too many places either. He's still 16th, despite that run onto the grass. He started quite low down in the order as well, so not too much of a disaster for Zonta, but I think he would have been hoping to climb up the field a little bit more than he was able to. And there you can see all the fans up on the huge banks here at Zandvoort, and then in the main grandstand as well. If you're in the main grandstand, you get to see the pit lane and the start line, but down at the first corner you get to see the famous Tarzan corner here at Zandvoort, which has been used for a very long time. The first street race around Zandvoort was held back in 1939, and but this permanent facility wasn't constructed until after the war. The Dutch Grand Prix was held here for many years. And we had A1 GP held here as well, Super League Formula. And there you can see the barrier repairs taking place. They're pulling the barriers back into place. That's the reason for the delays, because you have to make sure the barriers are back into position, and that's exactly what the guys here at Circuit Park Zandvoort have been doing. Last Formula 1 Grand Prix here was in 1985. And, well, in fact, the front of that BMW, you can see the Rush advertisement for the Ron Howard film coming out in September. And in 1976, they probably raced here at Zandvoort. There's Ricardo Zonta at the wheel. As we said, 16th on the grid, remains in 16th place. So the 10-minute board has been shown. And we can now hear, with WRT in 2nd, 3rd and 4th places, we can hear from Pierre Dieudonné, and he's down on the grid with John.
Pierre Dieudonné, sporting director at WRT. You're looking at the sporting regulations. Do you know precisely what will happen when this race gets back underway?
Well, normally when the race is suspended, it's just the time which is suspended, but the race carries on. So it will be the same race resuming, and we will have to deduct the time of the time during which the race was suspended.
So in other words, the clocks have stopped. When the race gets back underway, it will run for the remainder of the 1 hour.
Yeah, that's correct. So we have to make sure that the pit stop window is correct now. That's why we need to make a calculation, unless the race director informs us of the pit stop window now.
Pierre, how much work is a team allowed to carry out in a red flag situation where the cars effectively are stopped on the grid? Anything, or
just a small number of changes?
No. When the race is suspended, the car stops behind the red line, and then the car may be worked on by regulation. So you can work on the car during this while the race is suspended, and then it is resumed behind the safety car. So now it will be a restart, like if there was a safety car. So 1 lap behind the safety car and no overtaking until you have crossed the start and finish line.
Any observations from your drivers? Got overtaken into the first corner by the Mercedes.
No, I didn't. I was busy with other things, so I think the Mercedes just had more grunt and could pull away at the start. But this is fine for us. We just hope that the incident is not too serious. That's the main thing.
Well, thank you. We've got 5 minutes to go, so you better get back to your job. I've got to do my day job. So many thanks, Pierre.
There you can see Cesar Campanico's car back in a gravel trap as they put the weights down on the front of the car, because that's where the car would then flip up essentially when it's lifted up, because there's no weight towards the front of the circuit, front of the car. So less than 5 minutes until the race resumes, which is fantastic news for all of us here at the Circuit Park Zandvoort. And it'll be Maximilian Buch to lead away behind the safety car. I'm still not sure what happened to Andreas Zuber, why he ended up, because he crossed the line when they were behind the safety car. He crossed the line in 15th place, but somehow has ended up behind Zonta, Brahm, Szulzicki and Peter Charouz. So something obviously went amiss for Zuber on that last lap. And also something I think might be worth watching out for was we saw an overtake, didn't we, under the safety car. I can't remember now who we were on board with, but there was certainly one where the move seemed to happen. That it might actually be been Zonta and Szulzicki, actually. I think it was Zonta and Szulzicki, as we are on board now with Ordóñez, but that'll be something that the race director no doubt will be keeping an eye on. Lucas Ordóñez will be restarting in 9th position, 3rd in the Pro-Am class. And this will surely see a change in the lead of the Pro-Am Championship, because Carlos Vieira and Cesar Campanico are at the top of the Pro-Am Championship, but they obviously are now out of the race. So that'll give a perfect opportunity for Sergei Afanasyev and Andreas Simonsen, who are currently 2nd in class, to move into the lead of that class. But also Dominik Baumann and Harry Procik are very much in with a shout, currently leading the Pro-Am class, and they're 3rd in the standings. 3-minute board has been shown, and racing is about to get back underway here at Zandvoort, which is, as I say, excellent news. In the Gentleman's Trophy, Peter Charouz and Jan Stovacek currently lead that, and they're looking to extend their lead here today. Maximilian Buch will be hoping that if they can get a good run of results through the final part of the season, they might be able to challenge for the championship. It's not beyond the realms of possibility with the pace that they've seen. HDP, I think, need to work on their pit stops just a little bit more. And there you can see the Audi has been hoisted onto the recovery truck, which will head off pretty soon, because the race should be getting back underway in 2 minutes' time. And what will happen, as John was just telling us with Pierre Dieudonné, when the safety car pulls away in 2 minutes, then the clock will continue its countdown from 54:36. And so that is how things are going to pan out, and then probably 1 lap behind the safety car will come in, and the race will be properly underway.
Yeah, the thing that Pierre Dieudonné pointed out when I was watching him before he came on air was checking regulations, but principally the recalculation that everybody has to do in relation to when the pit stop window opens, but probably more critically when it closes. Although it is a 10-minute window, but it's to know the precise time. As we see that Audi being returned to the pits, damaged obviously to the nose and the left front, but fundamentally the car has withstood that impact. There's a big impact, didn't really lose very much speed. But to go back to the pit stop window, it is crucial, because we saw yesterday the lead Audi, waiting until the last moment, came in with about 20 seconds before the pit lane was closed. So that's how fine the calculations have to be to take advantage of that window if your driver is leading.
So the engines are fired up. We've got 1 minute to go before the race gets back underway here at Zandvoort, after quite a lengthy delay, after Cesar Campanico went into the barriers down at turn 1. Barriers have been repaired. Campanico's car has been removed and will be back on it very soon, and the race control have just confirmed that the pit stop window will remain as it was. So 25 minutes into the race, pit stop window will open, and 35 minutes into the race, the pit stop window will close.
So we see the field. Alain Day looking, well, obviously he knows the camera's on him and he's trying not to let it get into his thoughts and process of awaiting his turn in this car. So tense moments again. You build up, in the hour or so following the warm-up before you go out on your out lap to go onto the grid. Then you've got to sort of cool down briefly, then recommence that process. Not so difficult for the drivers who will be taking over, but for those in the car, it's sometimes you just got to get that focus back again and be able to be right on it when the safety car peels off and racing then recommences.
We saw yesterday quite a few drivers napping a little bit at the safety car restart when the race leader went for it. A few of them kind of got a little bit caught out and got put under attack. How difficult is it in a safety car restart to really react to the guy in front?
Obviously the lead car has got control and he can play little games, and ultimately what he tries to do is to slow the pack down, and then immediately doing that he then gets on the throttle, and that process then goes all the way down through the chain of cars, and all those cars that are in the mid-bunch, they can do nothing. They're probably on the brakes when the lead car's hard on the throttle, and you aren't able to overtake until the safety car line, and then once you've passed that, then you can overtake, and then the race is underway. But of course that all occurs around the penultimate and the final corner onto the start-finish straight, and with cars bunched tightly together as they are under a safety car procedure, there's not a huge amount you can do, and it does play to the advantage of the lead car to make that, his opportunity to break from the bunch.
So on board we are with Ordonez through the Skyflock corner.
I don't think it's been raining, but it looks like it's got a lot of moisture on the grid,
isn't it?
Strange.
I haven't seen any rain. I haven't seen any rain since Thursday. It was raining here in Holland, but since then it's been beautiful weather. As the cars, well, there's quite a big gap actually, isn't there? Behind Aman Ibrahim, back to Anthony Kumpen. There's a huge gap. Look, there's Ibrahim in the BMW, and Kumpen, well, he didn't even come into camera shot there. So,
I mean, it is.
In fact, it's not Kumpen in the next car along. It's Sebastian Loeb. So, has something happened out there to Anthony Kumpen's Audi, perhaps, because we appear to have lost him from the running order at the moment. That gives Loeb another position, but well, we'll see if we can find out. But Anthony Kumpen has disappeared for the moment.
So the car has now come down to the S's again. This should allow them to tighten up the group of cars. It's a heavy braking zone. And now, and the exit of the S's all the way down to the Kumo corner. This is where the safety car will accelerate away from the pack of cars. The safety car, or the chain of cars, is being controlled by Maximilian Buch. And everybody's trying to gain a little bit of tension, but you can see how close the Audi is sticking. Stefano Telli is not going to let Maximilian Buch make the break that we saw happen yesterday, when it was in fact Lawrence Van Thor in the Audi. So the Audis are glued to the tail of the Mercedes, and there are three of them in line astern. But the Mercedes has good grunt from low speed. We saw that at the start, and again has made that initial break.
Maximilian Buch goes for it. The Mercedes lead as the safety car comes in, and racing is back underway here at Zandvoort. They stream across the line. No real movement in the top few positions as they all break down into the Tarzan hairpin, and Maximilian Buch actually has done a great job. We go on board with Lucas Ordonez. The car in front is, I think, Sergei Afanasiev, yes, in the HDP Mercedes. All squeezing now through this left-hander. Loeb taking a wider line in to try and get the run out on Aman Ibrahim. And he's very close actually. This might be a good opportunity for Loeb to move up into the top 10. Oh, there's almost contact between them as they come through a very fast part of the circuit. And Loeb unable to get through. There is Andy Zuber, so there must have been mechanical problems for that car. I wondered why they were suddenly at the back of the grid. Now they're in the pits.
Well, disappointment again for Sebastian Loeb Racing. The sister car is out, but that move that...
Here comes Caca Bueno. Caca Bueno going up the inside, but that's going to be a yellow flag zone. That was a definite overtake under the yellow flags from Caca Bueno. He moves up into fourth position for the time being, but that's where Anthony Kumpen's car got lost.
His car was being removed. He'll have to give that position back at the earliest convenience, because it was on the pass under a yellow flag station. So he will be penalised if he doesn't let. So is it?
It was Bueno going past Maya Mounoff.
Yes, so he'll let Maya Mounoff, will have to give that back. A problem for the Lamborghini in the middle of the S's. Suddenly it looked like it had no forward motion. Now it's got it going again. Agnatieff getting squeezed. Those two had a bit of form in the opening lap coming out of the final turn, the Ari Lion dive. So they're still at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Harry Procek losing a bit of momentum through the S's, allowing Afanasiev alongside. A bit of a bump between them, but they both carry on. Across the line we go then. Maximilian Buch leads by 1.3 seconds then. Stefan Ortelli second, Sandstrom third. Bueno in fourth, but that was a bit of a dodgy move from him as they break into, there's a look, and Salaquada's about to be overtaken. Patrick Kuhne getting past and moving up into 12th place, and Ricardo Zonta's following through as well. Zonta in the BMW trying to get alongside the AF Corsa Ferrari. Not quite close enough, a little bit of a nudge as they come down into the left-hander. This could leave Zonta a little bit caught out to dry. The Corvette of Max Brahms trying to find a way past, but he's unable to. Mark Szolsicki gets a good drive out of the corner, but he's not going to be able to get past, I don't think. And so all that squabbling is over 14th place, and Zonta has it.
Ricardo Zonta really having to fight to keep that position, and really appeared to be struggling as the field now filters its way out of the master corner. That's the right-hand corner that goes onto the what is now the modern Zandvoort racetrack. Wave yellow flag still down at turn 7 for Anthony Kumpen's car. Hasn't been cleanly removed to behind the barrier, so again an opportunity to overtake. There the car is now getting removed cleanly, and then those green or the yellow flags can be removed and a green flag will be flown.
On board with Lucas Ordonez, Sergei Afanasiev up in front. The Nissan is strong in a straight line, but so is the Mercedes. As they come into the S's, it's the battle over second place in the Pro-Am category. Harry Procek in the Grasso Racing Lamborghini is leading the Pro-Am category at the moment. As we come into the Kumo corner, then into the Ari Luijendijk corner, which leads us on to the start-finish straight, and you can see the Lamborghini right up behind Karun Chandok now. So it's Harry Procek in the Lamborghini, Karun Chandok in the Mercedes in front, but here comes Ordonez. On board we go, looking to try and get past on the run down into turn 1. Afanasiev covers the inside line fairly comfortably in the end. Oh no, he's lost it! Fairly comfortably, I don't think so. He's taken too much speed into Tarzan, and Afanasiev spins.
He was defending all the way down the pit straight, tight against the barrier and the inside the concrete wall, got onto the dirty inside bit of the racetrack and had just that little bit too much speed, couldn't slow it down, ran up the track, and around she went. And well, that's what happens when you defend. Sometimes it doesn't work in your favour. There's a classic example of a driver just being maybe a little bit too ambitious and trying to defend his position.
That puts Lucas Ordonez up into second position in the Pro-Am class then, as they all start to queue up a little bit behind Karun Chandok. Car 0 under investigation for overtaking under yellow flags, which is the move we saw from Kaka Bueno. So Bueno under investigation. Oh, Chandok getting out of shape, coming down into the left-hander. Harry Procek noses towards the inside to try and get past, but no such luck just yet as they come down now towards the chicane. Procek saying that he and Baumann are struggling in a straight line in that Lamborghini, so it's going to be difficult for them to make a move unless there's a mistake from Karun Chandok, and it could put them under pressure from Ordonez behind.
I was talking to Karun on the grid before the start, first time around, and saying, you know, I said to him, you know, your Mercedes, what's different to the other Mercedes out there? And well, it is a family-run team, and Jan Seefeld is very much, if you like, the star driver. And then when they make a change, they don't make small steps, they make giant steps. And sometimes they miss the sweet spot very, very frequently. It's just too big a change. So he's trying to get them to make small changes, not big changes.
Ferrari going a little bit defensive. Ricardo Zonta trying to get past Philippe Salaquada. Round Tarzan, oh, a little bit of a nudge. Zonta trying to bully his way past in the BMW, but he's not quite able to make that stick just yet. Now into the right-hand kink at turn 2, down into turn 3, the Hugenholtz hairpin. And Max Brahms is right with them. Philippe Salaquada struggling for pace at the moment in 12th position. Zonta wants to get past. Here's a look at the replay of Afanasiev going in too deep.
Yeah, you can see how much Ordonez has backed off. The gap just suddenly opens up, and that's because the Mercedes is entering on the wrong line and runs up the track. And of course, the top of the track is dirty, it's sandy, and just on the brakes, turning the wheel, off the throttle. Just a classic incident. It happened to any of us on the road, let alone on a racetrack.
And it's an open goal for Ordonez to move up into 8th place overall, 2nd place in the Pro-Am.
But good thinking from Ordonez, because he forced that issue and he got the pass easily, whereas otherwise he was going to really struggle to find a way past the Mercedes in a clean one-on-one race.
Max Buch driving very nicely up at the front of the field. He's just set the best middle sector of anyone, a 26.5, and on that last lap he was 0.3 of a second quicker than Stefan Ortelli in 2nd place. Sebastian Loeb up into 10th place now, right behind Aman Ibrahim. We're watching the battle between Karun Chandok in 6th place, Harry Procek behind in 7th place. Procek these two are in different classes, but still they're fighting for the same piece of tarmac overall. Across the line we go. Lucas Ordonez is right with them. All three of them only separated by 0.6 of a second on the run down into Tarzan. I think it's going to be through the corners where the Lamborghini needs to try and find an advantage.
Yeah, well, it's going to have to do something, because on the straight line the Mercedes is just simply out dragging it. There's no aerodynamic gain either for the Lamborghini. But I'm going to watch Lucas Ordonez in the third of these 3 cars in the Nissan, because he's sitting there watching. He had the same situation when he was running behind the Mercedes of Afnathiath. And look at Harry Procek. He knows he's quicker than Karun Chandok. He knows he's quicker around this part of the racetrack, but he's being frustrated because he can't get sufficiently close to get alongside the Mercedes. He can't afford to try and just do front wheel to back wheel, because that will just be disaster. But Karun Chandok, very experienced, knows how to race and how to make his car awkward for the pursuing Procek.
Down to the right-hander they come. Procek drops back just a little bit. Closes back in though through the corner, and so will he have a chance coming down into the chicane? He's going to be right up behind Chandok as they come down towards the S's. Drops away though in the straight line, though, isn't he?
Where he loses out is on that initial grunt off the corner. Mercedes seems to have a good, strong... First of all, the traction control really works on the Mercedes-Benz. Secondly, the grunt from that massive V8 engine just pulls at that initial 3-4 meters ahead of the Lamborghini. Look how close Procek gets coming through the penultimate corner, then on to the main straight through Ari Landijk. But once on the straight, the gap just ebbs away all the time. Frustration for the Lamborghini driver Procek, but that's motor racing. That's where we are, with different manufacturers, different strengths in different parts of the circuit.
Sebastian Loeb coming under pressure now from Patrick Kuhner as they turn into Tarzan. Loeb in 10th place, Kuhner in 11th place in the road drive Lamborghini. If you've seen any FIA GT so far this season, you'll have seen road drive out there in Ford GTs, but they've switched to Lamborghini from now on in, as Harry Procek thought about a move going down into Hugenholz.
Well, he's thinking about it. He's going to try. It would be a brave man that would think about making a dive down the inside as they come up the hill. He's not going to do it. His next opportunity not going to be into what is the tight right Masters curve, but he might think about it if he gets the position into turn 7. But you've got to be right on the gearbox of the car you're following. In this case, it's the rear bumper, because the gearbox is beside the driver in the Mercedes. Again, can't do it into turn 7. Next opportunity is the cut back into turn 8. Not quite close enough, but that's between 7 and 8 of the areas of the racetrack he's going to have his best opportunity. But again, Ordonez just sitting there watching all this action going on.
Might be close enough, you know, coming towards the S's. He's tucked right up behind, and there goes the look coming down into the S's. We'll wait and see whether he made it past, and he did. Good stuff from Harry Procek. He gets past Karun Chandok and up into 6th place overall, and now Chandok is going to be under pressure from Lucas Ordonez, and Ordonez has good straight line speed in that Nissan, so it might be a little simpler for him potentially.
I think it will be, but a good pass by Procek. He'd worked really, really hard to get it. He got a good run out of turn 8. That gave him the track position to enable himself to go down the inside. He got alongside Karun Chandok and the Mercedes, and Chandok was a sitting duck, and the position went from the Mercedes to the Lamborghini, and Procek is now going to move forward, currently in 6th place, looking at Nicky Meyer-Melnhoff in the Audi.
Yep, he's 3.5 seconds off Nicky Meyer-Melnhoff in 5th position, but it's the lead of the Pro-Am class that will bother Harry Procek the most, and he now holds that, which is good news for him. On board with Lucas Ordonez now as he tries to close in on Karun Chandok in front. Through this fantastic sweeping section of the circuit. Just a little lift on the approach then before braking for Skyflock. brilliant vantage point to watch the circuit there, and Ordóñez is pretty close actually as they come through the right-hander at the Masters corner. Will the Spaniard fancy a lunge anytime soon, although he probably knows that he's fairly strong in a straight line. Chanduk takes a much wider line coming out of that right-hander. Ordóñez sees a little bit of a gap on the inside, but there's nothing doing just yet, and he'll have to sit in behind the Mercedes. Drive-through penalty for car 0. Caca Bueno for overtaking, under yellow flags. We saw it happen.
It's a no-brainer.
Done deal, yeah.
But looking at Lucas Ordóñez in the Nissan following Karun Chanduk, clearly not as aggressive in his attempt to find a way around the Mercedes as we saw from Harry Projek in the Lamborghini. So the strengths of the Nissan in the hands of Ordóñez are going to be in a straight line, and certainly in the mid-speed part of the engine range. Comes off the corner slightly quicker than the Mercedes, picking up a little bit of speed, but watch, comes out. Chanduk goes one way, then stops. Ordóñez doesn't force the issue. He wasn't sufficiently far forward, but it's indicative of the pace of the Nissan that Karun Chanduk is not going to get an easy ride in this battle, which is going on now for 7th place.
It's going to be for 6th place, though, soon, when Caca Bueno serves his drive-through penalty. And that's Bueno will drop from 4th place all the way down to 16th position. And there you can see Caca lapping pretty well, it has to be said. 42.2s, very similar pace to the cars in front, but that drive-through penalty will put him right down to 16th place.
But I tell you what's interesting, on the 11th lap, at the start of the 12th lap, in fact, Maximilian Buch, fastest first sector time, last lap, best lap, 1 minute 41.2, over, well, half a second quicker than the following Stefano Telli, and followed then by Sundström in the second of the WRT. I mean, the pace that Maximilian Buch is driving at here is very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. 4.3 seconds clear of Stefano Telli is Maximilian Buch now, as we went on board for a moment with Caca Bueno. Great shot of him working the wheel. Now, are we going to see him peel into the pit lane this time around for that infringement? And look at that, unhappy with that decision is Alam Kader. He's got to serve his drive-through penalty at some point.
But he's got to do the drive-through penalty. He isn't allowed to do his pit stop. He's got to do the penalty, and then he's going to come back in that 10-minute window. So it's a double kiss in a way for the Brazilian BMW, and it is disappointing for them. They've got a quick car here this weekend, and both those drivers more than capable of doing a strong job. So we're going to have to wait and see.
Harry Projek on that last lap took about 0.8 of a second out of Nicky Meyer-Melnov in 5th place. So Projek is scampering away. Meanwhile, the car we're on board with now, Lucas Ordóñez, is not really challenging Karun Chanduk. He's 0.7 of a second behind, but it's more Aman Ibrahim behind him that he's got to worry about. In that black, orange, white and green BMW, there is Aman Ibrahim, former A1 GP racer, Formula 2 as well. That's a rear right puncture for Sergei Afanasyev. What a busy day he's having, and off goes Patrick Kuna, keeps it all together just about. Behind is Ricardo Zonta, who's been trying to get past Felipe Telequada for as long as I can remember. Now Patrick Kuna was running in 11th place and still is, but has run wide coming out of that corner and is under pressure now.
Well, you may remember his car. Look at this, the space of Afanasyev coming back. He needs to be very careful. He's running only halfway around the lap, and if he doesn't slow down, he will do more damage to the rear of that Mercedes-Benz. When you've got a tyre that's deflated as this is, the flailing rubber can take out brake lines, it can damage suspension components, damage body. Back to this battle further down the field. This car, the Lamborghini, again makes an error as it comes into the Kumu corner. The back end steps out. I wonder, has he got a rear tyre problem as well, as the BMW now drives into the pit lane. This is Caca Bueno going to drive through for his drive-through penalty. Pit lane is opening in, 45 seconds from now.
But look at this scrap going on. It's Patrick Kuna at the head of it. The Ferrari tries to look to the outside. Here comes Ricardo Zonta. Could see that one coming a mile off. The Ferrari's in the gravel. And finally, Zonta has managed to push out Salaquada. He's been having little nudges all day. We go on board with Caca Bueno, who has now served his drive-through penalty. but let's hope they can get that Ferrari out of the gravel without the need for a safety car.
Well, you could see it coming almost halfway down the straight. Whether that'll be adjudged to be a unnecessary accident or one that was just really motor racing, in my view, it was about 50-50. Ricardo Zonta had been given the opportunity to stick the nose of the BMW up in the inside of Philip Salaquada in the Ferrari, and inevitably, as the Ferrari then came down, let's watch again and see whether that was the case. There, the Ferrari over on the left, the BMW moves up the inside. It's almost, the BMW is sufficiently far forward that the Ferrari, when it shut down on top of the BMW, there was nowhere for the BMW to go, and I would imagine that won't get a penalty for Ricardo Zonta. But the car is now going to have to be pulled. We've got a pit stop window is open. We're going to have a yellow flag situation down there. There is Ignacio in the pits. And I wonder, did he get into the pit lane at the point the pit window opened? He might just have managed to balance his speed on the return with the pit lane, and what could have been another pit stop, which would have been one to make the change of one tyre. I think they've just managed to do it, so they've got something out of a disappointing situation.
Yeah, but it's still by no means a good moment and a good race for Afanasi Evans-Simonsen, who you spoke to on the grid. And, oh, that's a bit of a close release for the HTP Charoux squad, coming out just in front of the Nicky Meyer-Melnoff Audi, who's come in to hand over to René Rast. Chanduk's in the pits as well, as is Lucas Ordóñez. And that's just a mid-pack. I think that'll be Patrick Kuhner trying to lap Andreas Simonsen now, who's taken over because he's so far down.
Yeah, but Simonsen will pull away. Yeah. There's no doubt that. Andreas Simonsen, the quicker of these two drivers, particularly in that car. But of course, there is a yellow flag down at Tarzan Herpen.
So,
first of the Audis has been in.
That's Nicky Meyer-Melnoff has handed over now to René Rast as he leaves the pit lane. And
that's
he's going very slowly.
He is going slowly.
René Rast is going very slowly, having just exited the pits. And I wonder if there's a problem for the WRT car. Well, I don't wonder it, I know it, but I wonder what it is, because that is a real shame for René and Nicky. It's difficult to see what the problem is.
Well, also,
he's pulling off.
He's pulled off, he's got a problem. But what was interesting to me was that as René Rast came out of the pit lane, one of the cars came down on the track and overtook this car exiting the pit lane. And I mean, technically, you're not meant to overtake under a yellow flag. Now, the car wasn't actually out of the pit lane at the point the overtake took place, or was the Audi still in the pit lane? One of those little issues that will be looked at as now the two other Audis dive into the pits.
Have they come in at the same time?
Those two Audis? Yeah.
Wow, that's an interesting one. Into the pits comes both Stefan Ortelli and Edward Sandstrom as they make their way down. Into the pits also comes Sebastian Loeb to hand over to Alvaro Parent. But WRT obviously confident that they can get both of their Audis turned around with the same, with two different pit crews. No further action to be taken with that Salaquada Ricardo Zonta incident. They said it was a racing incident.
That was my judgment. It was a almost 50-50 incident. Salaquada didn't give enough room. He could have been a bit more generous.
And look at that, out of the pits then comes the Audis, and can't quite make out.
Is that the way they came in?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Or they swapped over on the pit stop? It's hard to tell because we couldn't quite read the numbers of the two cars. Alvaro Parent is into the McLaren. Good job by Sebastian Loeb under difficult circumstances, having to start at the tail of the field to drive his way through. So he'll feel some satisfaction finally after a huge disappointment from yesterday.
Ricardo Zonta is handed over now to Sergio Jimenez as René Rast's car gets pushed away off the circuit. But there is our race leader, Maximilian Buch. When will he come in to hand over to Alan Day? Because with the Audis, we'll have a much quicker tyres at the moment and be able to lap much more quickly. And so he's coming in to react almost immediately. Into the pits comes the Mercedes. This is going to be close because HTP struggled a little bit in the pit stops. They lost time there yesterday. So this is going to be a big moment for them as into the pits they come.
It's a big moment for Alan Day as well, because Maximilian Buch has been absolutely mighty in this opening stint, used his advantage at the start, took the lead from the Ortelli Van Thor Audi and has been unchallenged. Even though we had a red flag, we had a restart and he was able to pull away pretty comfortably from the Audis behind. Now it's Alan Day into the car.
Left side change, right side change. Here are the Audis coming through the penultimate goal. Looks easy for Alan Day. There is the Audi, the lead Audi comes out of the Harry Lyondike corner, and the Mercedes is, well, it's
going to be close. Alan Day exits the pits. Laurens Vanthoor comes across the line, heading down into the first corner. The gap is fairly big, but how long will it take Alan Day to get up to speed? That's going to be the interesting thing. There you can see Maximilian Boot taking off his balaclava, and Frank Stippler, or Edward Sandstrom at the wheel now, couldn't really close in very well on Vanthoor in front of him.
But what is interesting is Simonsen in the Mercedes, he's just taken over from Agnatieff, has been doing very, very quick sector times. Fastest sector 1, fastest sector 2. He's now actually been overtaken by, in sector 3, Stefano Ortelli on the Audi with fresh rubber. So it's another race as we look at Alvaro Perez trying to make some progress, and he's now got a battle ahead of him with one of the Mercedes. He gets through.
It's Jan Seyfarth.
Yeah.
They're battling over what will ultimately, I think, be 5th position once Szulzicki and the 3-car of Peter Charouz come into the pits. They've also got the other McLaren up in front of Andreas Zuber, but he is a lap down. So it's these 2 cars in shot now that are the ones battling over ultimately 5th position, I believe, when everything shakes out. Andreas Simonsen goes purple in sector 2 as well, as the McLaren gets out of the way for Jan Seyfarth.
Yeah, but you were just watching the 2 McLarens. Alvaro Perez gets around his sister car, and now focused very much on the back of the Mercedes coming down into the S's. And Alvaro Perez will want to maintain the momentum he's building up. And they did work on the car overnight, particularly on the sister car. They made some changes to roll bars. They found time. Mike Parisi was very quick this morning in the warm-up. Alvaro wouldn't admit that they had made the same changes to that car, the car he shares with Sebastian Loeb. But I would imagine that Perez will be pushing hard to get ahead as quickly as he can, as we see the Nissan in for its stop.
Szulzicki handing over to Wolfgang Reip from 3rd place. Also into the pits, you can see Peter Charouz coming in, and the number 10 McLaren of Andreas Zuber to hand over to Mike Parisi. They have a miserable day down in 15th place. But Alvaro Perez and Sebastian Loeb might be looking at a top 5 finish here, which I think would probably end up being better than I think Alvaro
certainly
imagined.
with the retirement of René Rast and one of the potential race-winning Audis, that certainly offers up opportunities. But he's still got to find a way past Jan Seyfarth in the Mercedes, and I don't know whether he's doing a better job than Karun Chandra is doing in this particular car, but certainly Alvaro Perez, I would like to think, would be slightly quicker in the McLaren than Sebastian Loeb is, though there's not a lot of pick and choose. But Jan Seyfarth has done a good job in the Mercedes taking over from Karun Chandra.
So Alan Day has just set the fastest first sector of anyone, but then the man chasing him, Laurens Vanthoor, has just set the fastest middle sector of anyone. There's about 2.5 seconds between them on the circuit in the battle over 1st and 2nd places. This actually isn't the battle over 5th, it's the battle over 4th, because the order will be Day in the HDP Mercedes that we're seeing on screen now, then Vanthoor in the number 11 WRT car, 3rd will be Stippler in the WRT, and then 4th will be Jan Seyfarth. So it's a battle over 4th and 5th places that we're watching as Jan Stovacek comes out just in front of Laurens Vanthoor. The gap between 1st and 2nd, 2.4 seconds now. And you can see a huge gap back to this 4th place squabble.
Where did this gap come from?
Here they are. It's Jan Seyfarth and Alvaro Perez down into the first corner. The McLaren not close enough, but looking strong on the brakes.
Yeah, but again, we're seeing here all weekend the Mercedes have been really, really strong. They've got good mid-range torque from this engine. They've got good straight-line speed as well. And the very slippery aerodynamic McLaren isn't really able to do very much to close down the Mercedes in a straight line around the racetrack. We expect to see Alvaro Perez. He's making a small adjustment. That's probably a brake balance adjustment he's making as he makes his way up through these lefts and rights, through the sand dunes, up to Sky Block, then the corner. Just falls away from you. The car wants to run wide. Great corner. For me, best corner on this Zandvoort 4.3 kilometre circuit.
And we come down through the Masters box into this tight right-hander at turn 7. Up through 8. And a very interesting line taken in there by Jan Seyfarth. He dives in really early to get the apex, and hugs the inside all the way around. It doesn't seem to have affected him too much, as we remain on board with Alvaro Parent. The pit stop window is about to close, but everyone has made their pit stops now, so that's not an issue anymore, and it's a straight-out fight for the lead of the race between Alan Day and Laurens Vanthoor, a fight that at the moment Day is winning comfortably. He just lapped a second quicker than Vanthoor, but it's all right. Goes Parent, manages to keep it together, but he was pushing there.
Well, he saw that the Mercedes had been going bumpity-bump over the curbs in the S's, and I think he felt, well, here's an opportunity, and I'm going to make a big commitment, and he just let the car run too wide, a little bit too aggressive, too optimistic in the Kumo corner, and almost cost Alvaro Parent not just, distance, could have seen him into big trouble, but he got the car back into control, and now continues the process, coming up to the Hugenholz hairpin bend, and it's the same scenario, just one lap further into the race.
Here's a look at the replay of Alvaro coming into Kumo box. He just runs wide.
Well, he ran wide, but he just freed the car up on the exit too much. And maybe just exited the corner a little bit earlier than he had hoped to do. Anyway, he got away with it, got a bit of dust onto the outside rear tyre. That'll take a lap or so for it to clean up totally, and then he's back on it again. Totally different lines. Interesting that Seyfarth comes in very, very much earlier.
And the same here at this left-hander.
Yeah, whereas Alvaro Parent in the McLaren, but you can see the understeer in the McLaren, you can see that right front, you can see how much lock he's having to apply to the McLaren to get the car to have a continuous turn in turn 8.
Down into the S's then comes his battle over 4th position. Jan Seyfarth ahead of Alvaro Parent. Only 0.7 of a second between them as they cross the line. Parent looking very racy. This is where he ran wide on the last lap. Keeps it all together this time around.
Well, he gets it out to the outside of the curb, but that's acceptable. He didn't have the problem of the previous lap, running too wide and dropping the wheel off onto the dirt. But I mean, it's frustration when you're in a situation, you know the car ahead of you. If you could break clear of it, you would pull away. So Parent really looking around the circuit. I'm sure he'll be taking on board some of the lines that Jan Seyfarth is taking, but it's not really giving Alvaro Parent the opportunity to take advantage of that. And certainly into turn 7 takes a very, very early cut to make his apex. It's as if he's trying to make the tyre do something to give him the initial bite and really load the left front tyre, whereas Parent keeps it straight and then makes a much quicker turn.
It's working for Seyfarth at the moment, though. He's lapping in the 141.2s, which is about 0.8 of a second slower than the top 3. The top 3 all did a 1:40.4 on that last lap, so they're very well matched. I think Frank Stippler and Edward Sandstrom will be disappointed that they haven't been able to challenge for second place a little bit more, as the fans watch on with 22 minutes to go here in Zandvoort. Fantastic to have FIA GT Series in the Netherlands. Flashing his lights now, Jan Seyfarth, just in case he comes up to any back markers, as they now drop down into the chicane. Where's it going to go? A little bit of a mistake there coming through the right-hander. And that's allowed Alvaro Parent to get right up to the back of the Mercedes. The reason he's flashing his lights is because Jan Stovacek is just up the road in the back marking Mercedes.
And that's what Parent is going to have to hope for, that when they catch up to this tail-end Mercedes, that it's going to give him the opportunity to push, and he's going to have to really bully his way past. Seyfarth did get it wrong in the S's. He did bang over the curbs, gave Parent the opportunity to close down, but again it comes back to this straight line performance. Mercedes gives no mercy to the McLaren there. The Mercedes, the lap car gets out of the way, so no loss or advantage to these two cars who are currently battling over that 4th position.
Through the left-hander, Hugenholz hairpin, then back out towards the far end of the circuit. Fantastic circuit here in the Netherlands, and it's provided us with some great racing. Difficult to overtake, but not impossible, as we have seen throughout this weekend. And if anyone can get past, it'll be Alvaro Parent, very experienced racer. GP2, Formula Renault 3.5, British Formula 3 champion of quite a few years ago now, and he is right up behind as they come into the left-hander. There's nothing really he can do about it though. Well, where do you think he can make the move? What's
Well,
he got
I mean,
to do?
those 3 corners, 7 unlikely, 8 you never know. You've just got to get position. This is where we saw Harry Project make a really good dive down the inside on one of the Mercedes. Again, slightly quicker through the S's, but it doesn't translate into any benefit by the time they get down to the Kumo corner. And then, you know, in the corner, a little bit of aerodynamic loss on the nose of the McLaren, probably is causing it to have that initial bit of understeer. Then as they accelerate through the quicker exit of the Ari-Lion Dyke curve, just that sheer grunt of the Mercedes is pulling it away all the time. So Alvaro Perez just sitting duck, he could do nothing about it.
Yeah, we saw our friends up in their little cabin in the on the exit of turn 5. Great setup they've got there. As we turn now through on the 23rd lap of this 1-hour race here in the FIA GT Series. We had about a 20-25 minute delay after a crash from Cesar Campanico in the early stages of the race. Brought out the red flag and needed some barrier repairs. Cesar walked away from the car, but the barriers needed a bit of repairing. Up at the front, the gap is 3.5 seconds still. Alan Day and Laurence Vanthor lapping at almost exactly the same pace. There is our Pro-Am leader, Dominic Baumann, in the Gottfried Grasser Racing Lamborghini. Gottfried Grasser, the team manager, team principal and chief engineer, and they've been doing a great job with that car so far this year, has to be said. Behind them is Sergio Jimenez up into 7th place, so I'm not quite sure where they've pulled that one out from, the 21 Brazilian squad, but Jimenez and Zonta have managed to find their way up into 7th place, which is 6th overall, which will be their best performance of the season so far. Behind them they've got Alex Buncombe, who may well be under pressure soon from Alam Koder.
It's not been such a good race. Oh, dives down the inside, Alex Buncombe. Well, that's back armour, it is. You know, just suddenly you can see the Mercedes lifted off early and the Nissan almost caught on the wires. But I think Nissan have been somewhat disappointed. They've got a car which is quick, but maybe this circuit hasn't played to the entire retinue of strength that it has. And Adonis, we saw him running for a long time, never really being in a position to make a threatening challenge. Alex Buncombe probably going to be a little bit more aggressive if he gets the opportunity. But down in 8th place, and Jimenez, well, 2 seconds further down the road. Well, maybe 8th is going to be the best they can expect this afternoon. We've got 17 minutes and a few seconds remaining of this race.
They're going to have Alam Koder in the 0 BMW right behind them for company before too long. 0.4 of a second, 0.5 of a second quicker on that last lap was Alam, quicker than Alex Buncombe in 8th place. These are the 2 cars I'm talking about. That Nissan, 0.5 second slower on the last lap than the BMW chasing it up through the dunes. But the BMW struggles in straight line speed. The Nissan is strong in straight line speed, so it's going to be difficult for any move to be made there. 17 minutes to go here in Zandvoort, and Alvaro Perez is still chasing down Jan Seyfarth, but not quite with the same urgency as before. Breaking down into the chicane. The gap at the front is 4.1 seconds now. Day extending his advantage by another 0.3 of a second. Frank Stipler actually took 0.5 second out of Laurence Vanthor on that last lap, but there's still 2.8 seconds between them. There's first coming through. Here comes 2nd place. 3rd is Stipler, but leading this race still. Alan Day, very smooth.
I mean, it just looks like he's out for a late Sunday morning, early lunchtime drive in his Mercedes car. Perfect, no threat behind from Laurence Vanthor. 4.1 seconds the advantage. And Laurence Vanthor, you can see, putting a lot more energy into the Audi than Alan Day needs to do in the Mercedes. As Vanthor is trying to shut down that lead, and Frank Stipler in 3rd place, also pushing hard. You know, just simply the body language of the 2 Audis is more energized than that of the Mercedes. So for Alan Day and Maximilian Buch, it's been so far absolutely perfect Sunday to match what we've got here in Zandvoort. Stunning day.
It'll be Alan Day's first win of the season, the 3rd place Audi, as you saw on that graphic there, closing in gradually on Laurens Vanthoor.
I mean, that's a lot of time per lap he's taking out of the sister car. I mean, to take 3 to 4 tenths a second a lap as we go back to this battle for fourth place. Alvaro Perret still doing what he does, and Jan Seefeld still doing what he does in terms of each takes quite different lines into the corner, and all net side by the time they get back onto the short run down into the S's. A lot of curb by Seefeld in the entry to the chicane. We go back to this battle with Buncombe and Alain Kader in the BMW, and that's Kader running down Buncombe in the Nissan. So is this going to be a battle, or is it just going to be a sort of a facsimile of what we've been watching with the McLaren and the Mercedes a little bit further down the road?
It's the battle over 8th place. We're looking back from Alex Buncombe's car to Alain Kader. I mean, Kader isn't going to risk anything really because they're in different classes, so even if he managed to get past Alex Buncombe, it wouldn't make any difference points-wise in the race.
Yeah, but remember, he's Brazilian. They love their motor racing. They never say never. They're going to have a go if they can get Jimenez can get that BMW into position. There's no doubt in my mind, whether they're in the same category or totally different categories, he will go for it. I mean, I'm sure I'm wrong, but intuitively that's what I feel.
Into the Hugenholtz corner. You can see how much the BMW closes up through the
big
corners,
time.
and then in the straights, you'll see the Nissan just begin to edge clear. And that's the frustration for the BMW Team Brazil
But you see,
squad.
if you were in Alex Buncombe's position, knowing that you're not racing in a same class, and you saw that the pressure, look how wide the Nissan struggling for grip really coming through Sky Block corner, not able to get the car in as tight as I would have thought he would like it. You know, maybe Alex Buncombe might think, well, you know, what's the point? I've got a guy behind me who I don't know. Is he predictable or is he unpredictable? If he gets really close, I'm going to say, look, we're not racing in a category. You go ahead and take the position.
13.5 minutes to go here at Zandvoort. Third round of the FIA GT Series. And it's this battle over 8th place that we're watching. Alex Buncombe, who we're on board with in the JRN Nissan, with Alain Kader right behind in the BMW Team Brazil machine. On board we go with Kader, flicking from onboard to onboard. It's fantastic stuff. Through the final corner they come, and this is the continuing battle over 4th place. It's been pretty much the same between Jan Seefeld and Alvaro Perret for about, well, 10-15 minutes now, ever since the pit stop window closed. And Alvaro Perret desperate to try and find a way up into 4th position, but at the moment there's nothing doing. Differing lines down there at Hugenholtz. Seefeld trying to make it a 2 apex corner.
It basically, every corner except these curves, the Schlottemacher curves, I would say that Seefeld and Perret have got totally different lines, and it's the Seefeld lines are the ones that are maybe the less normal lines. Certainly when you get to turns 7 and 8, he's way different to, we're seeing Alvaro Perret, who's probably very much more the traditional apexes that you'd expect to see. But it still works for Jan Seefeld as this battle further behind Buncombe and Jim Jimenez. So BMW runs a little bit wide, maybe got a slight bit of back end stepping out and into the master corner.
So the sun glinting off the roofs here in the Netherlands. And the sun glinting off the cars as well as they come past. And there's the look! Oh, Alain Kader timed it nicely, but there wasn't quite enough of a gap there. As they come now down towards the S's again. Kader picking up speed, but he saw the gap, went for it, but Buncombe was pretty brave closing the door there. That could have been contact.
Yes, it was the one opportunity that we've seen so far that Jimenez has had, and he's fulfilling my expectation of Brazilian racing drivers that they never say never, and he did have the look. He recognized he wasn't sufficiently close, but he just under brakes. He's just further around the racetrack, not in the particular. That was out of turn 7. So here we are running up into turn 8. Watch. Suddenly he thinks, have I got an opportunity? He never really got even alongside the camera. The very wide angle lens on the camera slightly distorts how close the BMW was to the tail of the Nissan. But it's an opportunity that was half offered. Alex Buncombe knew that he wasn't, the BMW that is, in a position to force the issue or even make contact. So Alex Buncombe was pretty comfortable and didn't have anything to fear.
We saw there a few minutes ago Melroy Heemskerk's running in 10th place in the BMW Team India car. A good run for them so far. 3rd in the Pro-Am category. Sebastian Loeb and Andy Zuber having a little chinwag on the pit wall. Their cars are running in 5th in the hands of Alvaro Parent and 15th in the hands of Mike Parisi. Another difficult weekend for Sebastian Loeb Racing. And there is Alvaro, Loeb's teammate, trying to get past this Mercedes still.
How different a story it might have been if in the qualifying race this car hadn't had the contact with the Mercedes, which was adjudged to have been involved in an avoidable incident, got the drive-through penalty. But had that car in the hands of Alvaro Parent done what we had expected it to do, it certainly would have been a top 3 car, and then start for Sebastian Loeb in the front or second row of the grid. But that's what happens. One momentary contact and changes your whole weekend. A lot of dust up around the back of the circuit. Is that just simply from people walking in the sand dunes, or just something on the lens?
Yeah, I think it's up at the up on the top of the dunes with the wind blowing here fairly strongly. Across the line comes Alain Coder, 0.8 of a second behind Alex Buncombe, so he's losing out a little bit now. 0.3 of a second he lost in that final sector. Melroy Heemskerk in 10th place, a further 5.3 seconds down the road, but running, as I said earlier on, 3rd in Pro-Am. 4th in that class is Matthias Stumpf, which will be one of their strongest performances of the season, actually, the Road Drive squad. Yep, more comfortably their best performance of the season. So that'll be great news for them. Then switch to the Lamborghini working.
Great shots on board the BMW. Again, Alex Buncombe, whether he's got an issue with the Nissan, he doesn't seem to be able to get the car to come in quite as early as some other cars are doing. Again, Jimenez closes up in turn 7, so watch for a manoeuvre coming out of 7 and up into 8. So this may be Jimenez's second opportunity to get the BMW alongside the Nissan into turn 8. Looks to go down the inside. This time he's forcing the issue. So I mean, how close can you get without contact? But it is a replay. Sorry, folks.
That's okay, but I think that's I think that was a different. It might have been. It was a different occasion.
Yes,
but it was another attempt at the same manoeuvre. So. Still 8 minutes to go, and look how close the BMW is to the Nissan as they turn out through the back of the paddock. It's very, very difficult work out there for Alain Coder, who has plenty of racing experience.
So we're watching again the BMW gaining marginally, coming through Arie Luyendyk corner. Arie Luyendyk not here this weekend. He does appear from time to time at events at Zandvoort, but there you see the straight line speed of the Nissan just takes that position away from Jimenez. And you know, again, it's the same situation we're seeing with Alvaro Parent in the McLaren as Ricardo Zonta watches on from the pit lane. When you're just short of straight line speed, but you've got basic lap speed, and wide for Buncombe. Well, why was all that? Ooh. Alex Buncombe got really wide on the entry into the Hugenholz-Herpen bend, and Jimenez must really now believe there's a problem for the Nissan, whether it's just the tyres are going away so much. Alex Buncombe really having to hang on to the car, not expected to see that from the Somerset man in the Hugenholz-Herpen.
But this will mean that Alain Coder is closer than he has ever been coming into this part of the circuit. Look at that, really taking good speed through. And where will the move come? This could be his only real chance after that mistake. On board we go with Coder. Buncombe surely will cover the inside line. Coder will look to the inside but not be close enough. And has he lost his best opportunity coming through because of that mistake from Alex Buncombe? He was closer than he had been before, but at the same time it meant Buncombe, because he was close, was actively defending, as opposed to the previous occasions where Coder has tried to kind of catch him unawares.
Just interesting, the rear-facing camera when the Nissan hits the curbs. Look at the movement on the wing support, the wing struts on the Nissan. You can see, look how much movement there is. I mean, that's actually something that I'm sure the Nissan engineers would like to be aware of. That's quite a lot of lateral movement from those wing supports.
Out onto the start-finish straight they come. Alex Buncombe, 0.4 of a second ahead of Alain Coder. Coder has been racing GT cars for quite some time. He was 5th in the Brazilian GT Championship last year alongside Marcelo Hahn. But this is now the battle for 4th place again. Jan Seyfarth holding on ahead of Alvaro Parent to try and claim the first spot outside the podiums. Stippler has closed in on Lawrence Vanthor very impressively. There's now just 0.8 of a second between the second and third place Audis. Will we see any team play there? Because those two are, of course, battling each other at the top of the championship. But this is the battle for fourth. Alvaro Parent unable to find a way through. Hasn't been able to for a good half hour.
And I mean, I wonder how frustrated Alvaro Parent will be. He knows that get ahead of the Mercedes of Seyfarth, he could pull away. Same issue going on here. The BMW behind the Nissan looking to me to be struggling on its tyres. The BMW quicker but not looking again.
Oh, that's going to be a touch, isn't it? Just a little nudge, and then
I love you.
forces his way through. Alam Koder moves up into 8th place, but look at the straight line speed in the Nissan. What can the BMW do? Alam will try and go around the outside here at the S's, bumping and boring, and he makes the move stick. Good stuff from Alam Koder. Hard, would you say fair?
I would say that's acceptable. I don't have any problem at all. I mean, the opportunity came in turn 8, and then they fought all the way down the straight. You could see the straight line benefit that Nissan had, but when they got down to the S's, they were side by side, and Kader was able to hold position around the outside on the entrance of the S's, and then he was in the pound seat when they switched back to go left, and at that stage Alex Buncombe knew that the game was up. But again, he's coming back as best he can. The Nissan snaking under braking. That straight line performance the Nissan has was something that Buncombe wanted to use to full extent.
So Alam Koder then finally makes his move stick, moves up into 8th place. So it's 7th and 8th for the BMW Team Brazil squad. Sergio Jimenez running in 7th. Here's a look at the replay then coming down into the chicane, and Buncombe wasn't going to give him any room. He tried to turn in late, but full credit to Kader, he stuck in there.
Yeah, but I think fair credit to both drivers. They both realised that they're virtually wheel to wheel, side to side, and both drivers gave one another sufficient working room. I mean, that could have turned into a mess, but both drivers, and in particular Alex Buncombe, who had the inside line going into the S's, but he allowed working room for Kader on the outside then to take the advantage on the inside for the left-hand exit out of that S's. So good driving, clean driving, although there was a minor bit of contact. As I say, you know, kiss, 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 this is acceptable. When you hit somebody in the chin and say, get out of my way, metaphorically speaking, then that becomes too much.
This is the battle for second place, as we mentioned earlier. Stippler's been closing in on Vanthor and is now just 0.4 of a second behind. Now, the interesting part is that this is essentially a battle for the lead of the championship, because the pair are so close. Well, there's 7 points separating them in the standings, so it wouldn't quite swing the championship in Stippler and Sandstrom's favour if they got past, but it would bring them very, very close to one another.
But I'm looking at the two cars, the Stippler car, number 13, coming up through Sky Block Corner. It looked to be the car that had more grip. Vanthor pushing hard, but having to hang on in the process. So if Frank Stippler, assuming there are no team orders, has the opportunity, he certainly got the car underneath him, and Lawrence Vanthor, I think, has got that little bit less grip. So not many places for a clean overtake. So Frank Stippler, he knows where he's got the advantage, and Lawrence Vanthor will know that as well.
Absolutely. Up into the final corner they come. The difficulty here is that it's not like other battles we see between different cars. They don't have different strengths and weaknesses necessarily within the car. Let's not forget Alan Day's doing a brilliant job out of the front of the field. He looks like he's about to become the first Israeli driver ever to win an international motorsport event. Maximilian Buch watching on. Now, how close is Stippler? Very close. Still 0.4 of a second though. 1.5 minutes to go, so this will be the penultimate lap of the race. Stippler needs to get it done soon if it's going to get done.
Let's watch these two cars into the Hügelholz-Herpen. It's on the exit here as they go up through the Schlottemacher curves and then into Sky Block Corner. Watch the body language of Lawrence Vanthor. His is the Audi leading. The car behind Frank Stippler, to me, looks like it's just got more grip. Let's get the head-on view of this shot. Can we see it coming through? Well, I just think that Vanthor's car is moving across the racetrack more than Stippler's is doing. Stippler can hold the tighter line in Sky Block Corner, but of course it's only a lap and a bit to go.
Through the right-hander at the Masters corner. down into the hairpin at turn 7, little nose up the inside from Frank Stippler, not close enough, and what you don't want to do is take out your teammate. WRT have had that happen to them in the past. Last year at Zolder, 2 of their drivers came together. Oh, and off that, which...
That's Parent, Alvaro Parent has pulled off.
That's Alvaro Parent out of the race. What a disaster. As if this weekend could get any worse. They finally look like they're going to pick up some points, and Alvaro Parent retires from the race with 15 seconds to go. Absolutely devastating for them, for him and Sebastian Loeb, his teammate, as we come around to start the final lap. Or will it be the checkered flag?
Just looking to see is the flag.
It's the last lap. Last lap board goes out, and just crossing the line in time is Alan Day. Final lap starts, so Frank Stippler will know that as they come across the line. There's only 0.3 of a second between them. He noses towards the inside. Vanthor sees it coming, closes the door coming down into Tarzan. The 2 teammates battling over this and ultimately the lead of the championship as we go on board with Vanthor.
But you wouldn't think he's having to do an awful lot of work, but certainly his car, not as quick as the car Frank Stippler behind. Stippler goes slightly wider to try and get the better drive. A later apex off the corner. Can he get the momentum as they drive up the hill? Turn right through the Schlottemacher curve, drop down the hill, then to the left, then again you climb up through Skyblock corner, and this is where the 2 Audis really, you can see the body language of one moving around more than the other. Frank Stippler running out of time, half a lap of this race remaining.
Down into the Masters corner, and really his last opportunity is going to be into these 2 corners down here. He's super late on the brakes, closing in on the back of Laurens Vanthor in second place. No real space into the left-hander at turn 8, and I think that'll be it now for Laurens Vanthor. He should be able to cling on for the rest of this lap. Alan Day is already down at the S's. Here come, well, there'll be yellow flags out there as well, which isn't going to help matters. So for the final time, they turn through the S's. Vanthor should be able to hold on to that second place now. Here comes Alan Day in the HDP Motorsport Gravity Charouz Mercedes SLS. They are going to take their first win of the 2013 FIA GT Series. The checker flag is out. Alan Day and Maximilian Buch take the victory. Brilliant, commanding drive from them. There is Max Buch on the pit wall, over the moon. Across the line comes Vanthor, just holding on to that second position, and as a result, extending their lead at the top of the championship. Jan Seyfarth will have a comfortable run to 4th place now, with Dominic Baumann finishing in 5th position. Here comes Dominic Baumann. He is about to win the Pro-Am category, and this will surely move them up to the top of the Pro-Am standings. Yes, it will.
Been a good drive by Harry Project and Dominic Baumann. Feisty drive from Project early in the race, so they'll be very satisfied with that 5th place, and 6th, the BMW just a second behind.
Here comes Wolfgang Reip, running in 11th place, which is 5th overall. Across the line comes the BMW Al Amcoder, 6th and 7th, which is 5th and 6th in class for the BMW Team Brazil squad, which is their best team performance of the season so far. Across the line comes Matthias Stumpf to pick up 4th in class and 10th overall, behind 3rd place Melroy Heemskerks in the Team India BMW. Well, it's been a long time coming, the end of this race, considering we had that long red flag period in the middle, but Alan Day and Maximilian Buch, a brilliant drive from them, and this time the pit stop work from HDP was spot on.
They had a super run yesterday, and Maximilian Buch in particular was outstanding, but Alan Day has done a brilliant job. He took advantage of the lead that Maximilian Buch gave him, and he consolidated that lead, ultimately finishing 6.6 seconds ahead of the 2nd place Laurens Vanthor, who was being challenged severely by his teammate Frank Stippler. So that battle really consolidated between the 2 Audis, and let Alan Day just drive as if he was just out for a Sunday afternoon run, and really easy drive for the Mercedes-Benz pairing, and a thoroughly well-deserved result this afternoon.
René Rast now able to get back in his Audi after having to sit for his entire stint at the side of the circuit watching the racing happen, as Alan Day makes his way back around to the pits. And the cars will be heading back around, and they will be going back into the Parc Fermé immediately. So Alan Day and Maximilian Buch heading back around there, absolutely delighted, but they've been sent round there because of the delay earlier on. There's no time at the moment for the podium, so because the Formula 3 Masters
they'll do a podium, but because of the Formula 3 Masters event, the 25-minute delay when the red flag situation was in position has meant that we've had to close down some of the activities, certainly in the post-race interviews, but there will be a podium ceremony as we see our results.
Here they are then, the results. Mercedes winning ahead of Audi in second and third positions, 6.6 seconds clear in the end, Max Buch and Alan Day, but they had pace in the tank, I think, for a lot more of a comfortable margin than that. Karun Chandok and Jan Seyfarth having their best performance of the season so far with a 4th place finish ahead of Harry Prochik and Dominic Baumann. Ricardo Zonta and Sergio Jimenez in 6th position ahead of their teammates Bueno and Kader. Shame for Bueno getting that drive-through penalty earlier on, otherwise they could well have been on the podium. Then in 13th place we have the third HTP Gravity Charouz car, Petr Charouz and Jan Stovacek winning the Gentleman's Trophy. Loeb and Parent retiring from the race with 3 laps to go. The same to be said of Andy Zuber and Mike Parisi, or rather they finished 3 laps down, having had to come into the pits with problems. Rast, Onidi, Houseman, Eid and Vieira all out of the race. Cesar Campanico retiring after that big crash down at the first corner. So, an excellent day of racing, and this is what it does to the championship. Stefan Otelli and Laurens Vanthoor remain on top and extend their lead to 10 points over their teammates Edward Sandstrom and Frank Stippler. Max Buch and Alan Day, though, are now only 7 points behind, so they're definitely in the championship hunt, there's no doubt about that. But then there is a gap back to Nicky Meyer-Mellor from René Rast, Peter Cox and Stefan Racina. Carlos Cacabueno and Alan Coder are now up into 6th place in the championship. And as far as the teams is concerned, Belgian Audi Club, Team WRT, romping away at the top of the field. And 2nd place, Sebastian Loeb Racing. Despite their continual difficulty, they're still there in 2nd place in the championship. There is Alvaro being dragged back.
Doppelganger. The McLaren is actually towing the Corvette.
Yeah, exactly. That's
a new one on me.
So around they come towards the Parc Fermé area, and it's a real shame that that Corvette had to retire. We didn't catch why, but I think it was a mechanical problem for Duncan Houseman and Max Brahms after they retired from yesterday's race. But it was still great to have the Corvette and the V8 Racing squad out there for their home race here in the Netherlands.
Of course, Nicky Pastorelli, a friend of us from GT Series in the past, team managing that Corvette.
And he's also here managing and driver coaching some drivers out in Dutch Formula Ford as well. So, yeah, it's been good to see Nicky Pastorelli around the paddock after his success with Al Inkel last season. So the fans have been treated to an excellent race, very entertaining stuff, and brilliant GT action on this Zandvoort circuit, which is something we've come to expect, especially yesterday's race, but today's was very entertaining as well. At the start, we saw Sergio Jimenez getting pushed out onto the grass, but up at the front, it was the move for the lead being made by Maximilian Buch. But then it all kicked off at the start of the 2nd lap, a lockup or some kind of brake problem, sending the Cesar Campanico Audi off into the gravel.
I mean, that was a big impact for Campanico as he came into the tyres and happened further around the field. Lots of action going on. And, of course, we had to have the race red flag. Then, once again, it gets underway.
So Sergei Afanasiev having a little spin there. Then there was a good battle as Matev Stump tried to climb up the order. We then had this bit of contact. Ricardo Zonta trying to get past Felipe Salaquada. Race director said it was a racing incident, but that was the end of the day for the AF Corsa car. René Rast took over his Audi, and unfortunately that retired, which was very sad because René's a very quick driver.
But Maximilian Buch out of the Mercedes, hands over to Alain Day. Great job by Buch. But a battle going on further down the field. Lots of battles going on further down the field. Nissan and BMW. And eventually the BMW did squeeze past. Here was a great move. Both drivers gave each other just sufficient working room.
Absolutely. But then in the last few moments of the race, Alvaro Parent pulled off. But it was Maximilian Buch and Alan Day who took the victory. 2nd and 3rd, though, for WRT means that Stefan Otelli and Laurens Vanthoor are still at the top of this championship. So, that is the end of our weekend here in the FIA GT Series. Fantastic to see the GT cars out through the dunes, wasn't it?
Well, I just think I like coming to Zandvoort on a day or a weekend as we have had here, and there's no lovelier. So there are our friends out at the back at Skyblock Corner, and they've built this little cabin. They've got every imaginable convenience and luxury, and they're here, hail, snow, sunshine, whatever. Even when it's blowing a gale, they're out there. They love coming to Zandvoort. It's a family-friendly circuit, and there's an example of what you get.
Absolutely. So the fans have hopefully enjoyed the racing here. There's more racing to come on circuit, but that's it for us this weekend here in the FIA GT Series at Zandvoort. We'll be back next month when we make the trip to the Slovakia Ring, a circuit that always provides great entertainment. But from myself, Jack Nichols, and John Watson alongside me, thank you very much for joining us here in Zandvoort. And when we get to Slovakia Ring, it'll be battle resumed at the top of the championship. Loeb and Parent will be hoping they can continue. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in Slovakia.
There we go, prize giving ceremony of the GT Series, Zandvoort, Netherlands, in Pro Cup, winners of the race, and congratulations for Maximilianus and Ellen Tay. In second position, well done, gentlemen, and congratulations, Stefan Octelli and Laurens van Toor.